Hello again. So I'm Chris Bridge, and I'm here with my colleague Dr. Theo McCall, and we're talking about the Council of Nicaea, this being the 1700th anniversary of the Council of Nicaea. So today, as we promised, I'm going to hand over mostly to Theo, because he's our theology exponent here, to talk a little bit about the Nicene Creed. So what does it say?
Great. Well, the key debate in the Council of Nicaea was around the co-eternity of the Son with the Father. In other words, that the Son was not a created being. There was no point in time where the Son was created by God. Rather, the Son was of the same being as the Father. And this is where we have this fantastic Greek word homoousios, which means of the same substance as the Father. And that was the resolution of the Council of Nicaea, was that the Son was co-eternal, so had always existed with the Father, and was of the same being.
So this homoousios word, I mean, that's, as I discovered, that was incredibly controversial.
Yes, it was. Yes, that word does not appear in the New Testament Greek, for example. There are other parts of the New Testament that suggest the unity of the Son and the Father, but the word itself doesn't appear there.
And that's, that was the controversy over that word is, on the one hand, it led to literally hundreds of years of disagreement.
Yes, yes, it did,
as we're going to describe.
Yes.
But also, it eventually became adopted.
Oh, it did. Yes. So the Nicene Constantinople Creed that most churches around the world say, in translation, obviously today, has being of one substance with the Father, or similar words. Yes.
Right.
Yes, that's
it's
right.
that word consubstantial,
yeah.
Or in the Latin, it's consubstantialum patri, of the same substance as the Father.
So that became orthodoxy. Yes.
Yeah.
As we define it. Yeah.
So what surprises me is there was actually quite a big majority, obviously, at the Council of Nicaea, in favour of the Nicene Creed.
Yes,
but then, if you look at the history of the Church after the Council of Nicaea, it almost fell apart.
Oh, we almost
over homoousios.
Yes, it did. Yes, and then there was another word introduced, homoiousios, with the letter I added in, of like substance with the Father, and so that became the debate: was it the same substance or was it like substance? Which is what Arian's position logically led to.
So that difference between homoousios and homoiousios,
yes,
it seems like a very small, sort of minor detail, doesn't it, to us? But that's where the expression one iota of difference comes from. Because there was because there's only one iota with the letter I, the Greek letter I, between homoousios and homoiousios. But so there was this huge fight over one letter, and the expression "there's only one iota of difference"
comes from that.
I
did not know that.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Okay, so this idea of the homoiousios, so of like substance, that Jesus was of like substance with the Father, that was totally unacceptable to the Nicenes.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there were some very vocal opponents of that doctrine. I'm thinking of people like Athanasius, who...
Yes, who... But Athanasius became the standard bearer then for what became orthodoxy. He was the key person.
Right, but he had his work cut out, didn't he?
He did.
Like at one point he was banished. He became Bishop of Alexandria.
Yes, he did. Yes, and he was...
And he was banished from that at one point. So it wasn't long before the Nicenes were almost on the run.
They were.
So much so that Constantine himself actually rehabilitated Arius in 336. Or he was about to rehabilitate him, but Arius, on the way to his rehabilitation ceremony, apparently, had a hernia and died. And you can see that the Nicenes would have just been nodding approvingly that, well, of course that's what happened to him. And another interesting fact is that when Constantine wasn't actually baptized until his deathbed. So he professed Christianity, but people sometimes make a lot of that, but I don't know, we're not going to comment on that in this discussion. But he was baptized on his deathbed by Eusebius of Nicomedia, who was an Arian. So you need to accept that there are lots of different forms of Arianism. So the Arianism of Arius himself was quite extreme. So, and his Arianism was based on the idea that Jesus was a creature, a creation, of the Father, so it was therefore subordinate, created in some point in time. And I think it's pretty safe to say, isn't it, that the Nicene Council of Nicaea did away with that form of Arianism.
Yes, that extreme form. Yes.
But yeah, the other part of that is that being of the same substance.
Yes,
with the Father.
Homoousios.
That was really controversial.
It was. Yes, it was. Yes, that was what then led to some of the disagreements in between the Council of Nicaea and the Council of Constantinople.
Right. It's fair to say, isn't it, that the bishops who disagreed with the idea of consubstantiality, they basically got the upper hand, didn't they, after the Council of Nicaea?
They did. There's this extraordinary period of church history in the 4th century when what we now call Orthodox Christianity was certainly not in power. A sizable minority perhaps, but certainly not winning the day, as it were.
So when Constantine died, no surprises, the empire was divided up amongst his sons, and they started fighting, and eventually Constantius II became emperor of the whole Roman Empire.
Yes.
So he called a council. He called a series of councils actually, but the most important one was the Council of Rimini in 359. And so we've talked about how the word homoousios was a big problem because it wasn't scriptural, and there were a lot of bishops who disagreed with it. So they came up with a formulation, a creed, if you like, at the Council of Rimini, in which they declared that the fathers of the Council of Nicaea had been a little bit oversimplified. They'd oversimplified the situation,
yes.
And they'd erred in using the word substance at all, because substance is not scriptural. And so they agreed at the Council of Rimini, okay, we're never going to use the word substance again. We're not going to say that they were of like substance or of the same substance, which was what the big debate was. But we're going to say that, we're just simply going to say that Christ was like the Father.
Yes, similar to, I suppose we might say in English.
Yeah.
Yes, which is sort of might be described as Arianism light. It's a version, but it's not as extreme as Arius himself.
Right. So it was clearly Arianism, and it was completely unacceptable to the Nicenes.
So was the Nicene Creed overturned then?
I don't think it was actually overturned. It wasn't overturned. It was just a question of saying that, well, they oversimplified the situation, and yeah, from now on we're not going to use the language of the Council of Nicaea.
Yeah. So this version of Arianism, sometimes called Homian, which apparently means similar.
Yeah. So there's lots of different forms of Arianism. I mean, the basic point about Arianism is that the Son is subordinate to the Father. And indeed the Holy Spirit is subordinate to the Son.
Son and the Father, yes.
Yeah. So after the Council of Rimini in 359, the Roman Empire was basically officially Arian.
Yes, extraordinary.
All the way until Theodosius came to power in 380, and Theodosius was a committed Nicene Christian, and so with the Edict of Thessalonica in 380, that made Nicene Christianity the only acceptable form of Christianity. So by the Council of Constantinople, which was 381,
yes,
the Nicene Creed was reaffirmed. It was. And they added that bit about the Holy Spirit
with some more detail. Yes.
Yeah. So what happened? How did that come about?
Well, Athanasius did have some fairly vocal and powerful supporters. The Cappadocian brothers, two of them are brothers, confusingly, they have similar, the ones who are not brothers have the same first name, Gregory. But we have Gregory the theologian, Gregory of Nyssa, and then Basil the Great of Syriza, so that we call them the Cappadocians. They were critical in arguing for what became orthodoxy, and in favour of the Nicene Creed. Without them, I suspect the Arians may have,
All
they
right.
may have won.
We might be all running around as Arian.
It's a yes, it's a distinct possibility.
Right. Okay. Yeah, fascinating stuff. So next time we're going to talk about, so we've just described how the Nicene eventually became orthodoxy in the Christian church by 381, the Council of Constantinople.
Yes.
But that didn't actually end the Arian heresy, as we're about to discover, and we'll talk more about that next time.
Look forward to it.